Brett Edner, welcome to my very first episode of Level Up with Lauren at the Barn. This is like a real moment for me.
It was incredible walking up here because we were saying, I had you on my podcast, Meat Mafia podcast, last November, and we left that episode just saying, I think there's going to be some really amazing things to come in your future. We had talked a little bit about you starting your own show.
Yeah.
And here we are, episode 1.
If you build it, they will come.
Literally.
No truer words have ever been spoken. I was thinking about in preparing for this, I had come into this barn for a few nights in a row and just kind of prepping and meditating on everything. And I was thinking about 5 years ago, my own healing journey started to evolve. Things were kind of imploding in my own world. And I was forced to take my health into my own hands. And as things were unfolding and as I was learning and growing, I was realizing how much I was able to heal myself on my own terms and the incredible healers I was meeting and everything I was learning. And I felt such a compulsion to want to share this knowledge with everyone. And I remember saying to my husband back then, I was like, I don't know where this is going and what is coming of this, but I have to help people. I need to share everything I'm learning and everything that I'm doing. And about 3 years into that journey, I was like, I think I want to start an Instagram and maybe I want to start doing podcasts. And I was getting such strong whispers from the universe and wanting to do all of this. And I remember saying to my husband that whatever it is I'm doing, it's not happening in my home. I need to be immersed in nature. I need to be outside. And we started brainstorming and manifesting. And we came up with this vision of wanting to incorporate a barn somehow on our property. And part of the barn was to bring this whole vision to life, that I could do this. And it's really surreal to me, the magic mystery of life, now sitting in these chairs and this executing. And simultaneously, as this was all going on, we were friends.
Yes.
We had met because you are very soon to marry my very good friend, Dana, who's also my trainer. Yeah. And you were kind of watching my healing story unvolve in real time. And when I had shared with you that I wanted to launch Level Up with Lauren, you so graciously, interviewed me and asked me to come onto your podcast, the Meat Mafia podcast. And I remember at that moment feeling so touched by that, because I am a giver in all things in life. And I love to love on people and to give and to help everyone else. And to have someone want to do that for me was really, really touching to me. And when I came on the show, we were talking. And as you mentioned earlier, one of the last things you said was, I really cannot wait to see where you are a year from now.
Yes.
And a little over a year from now to now be sitting in these chairs. And you were the only person I wanted as my first interview.
Wow.
I wanted this full circle, synergistic moment for us. And I'm just so pumped to have you here and feeling such gratitude towards you again. And it's just very, very cool.
Yeah, I was going to just say, it means a lot for you to say that. It really has been such an amazing relationship, just because when Dana and I first started dating, she told me about how you were client number 1 and what you mean to her. And so to go from hearing about that to meeting you to us having our own friendship. And I just remember when I had you, before we had you on the show, I remember the more I would talk to you and pick your brain about health and wellness, I'm like, Lauren knows so much, and she's playing into such a particular niche where you have this pain of purpose story, like you were talking about. And then once you do the right things to kind of rewire your own health, you just have this knowledge that can only come from you doing your own research. And you're just so desperate to share that with your friends and family and your other friends. And I was like, I just know that once she figures out what her platform is supposed to be, she has so much good knowledge to offer to the world. And that's one of my favorite things about having a podcast. I think you'll realize this too, is recognizing these guests that are very special and maybe not a lot of people know about them, and giving them the platform to share their story. Your episode crushed for us because you know your shit, you're so passionate about it, and you're speaking to a lot of the moms and women that want to heal. And it's very encouraging. So I'm just so excited that you finally have your own show.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And I think what's really cool is speaking to the people that you bring on and the people that I hope to bring on, is wanting to interview very cool people that have these human stories, these authentic, vulnerable stories that people can relate to. And I think that's what speaks to me. When I think about people that I want to have on, it's whoever lights me up and whoever excites me and I think can light up listeners is exactly who I'm going to have on.
Definitely.
So you should feel really, really good that you are guest number 1 for me.
Number 1.
The bar is being set
I'm so
high.
pumped to be here. Yeah.
But so what I want to get into is you have an incredible healing story that I think is wildly inspiring of your own. I want you to take me back to being a 21-year-old young man. From what you shared with me, it was a time in your life that you ended up getting really, really sick, and you were given kind of like an absolute sentence in terms of what you were diagnosed with. And for many people, the sentence of this can never be healed. So take me back to that time in your life and what was going on.
Definitely. It's amazing now. I mean, even just reflecting on where we're at, this is summer of 2025. So we're coming up on like 9 years, about 9 years when I got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. Yeah. So 21 years old, athlete, growing up my entire life, particularly with baseball. My dad played college baseball. I was super passionate about baseball. And I kind of just looked at my health under the lens of, I'm an athlete. Therefore, if I lift weights and drink pre-workout, it doesn't really, I'll be fine because I play baseball at a high level.
And you're healthy.
And you're healthy. Yeah. Like you look physically healthy, but your insides might be telling a completely different story. So I think I had out of high school, I had around 20 scholarships to play baseball in college.
Wow. That's impressive. I don't know if I ever knew that number. That's really impressive.
I think it was like 20 to 25 because I had a really good arm. So I threw really hard. And a lot of these D1 schools, they see an arm that can throw 90 and they're like, I could turn this guy into a pitcher.
Yeah, I'm learning that. Yep.
Problem is I didn't really know how to throw strikes. I could throw really hard, but I didn't know how to throw strikes. That was the problem. So I ended up transferring to Babson College, good little business school outside of Boston. Yeah. And at that point, I was like, I'm not going to play professionally, but I really just want to have fun, go to a good school and then just try and get a great job out of college. So going into my senior year, I took an internship at AIG. So it was the first internship I'd ever worked at, and it was in New York City. I'm from New Jersey originally, so I would commute about 2 hours into the city, 2 hours home. And it's like your first experience in New York. Like you remember what that's like. The energy is amazing, the skyscrapers, like I'm 21, so you're going to bars and checking out restaurants, and it's like a whole new world.
You were living your best life.
Yes. But on that commute, I started noticing, like I was starting to get this like burning sensation in my stomach, and I was starting to get more of an urgency to go to the bathroom. And like a lot of young people, I just push it off. I'm like, it'll go away on its own. I just want to have a great time in the city. And then, as you can imagine, it did not go away. It continued to get worse. And I was just like kind of masking a lot of the symptoms that I was having. And by the end of the summer, I was like going to the bathroom 20 to 30 times a day. Felt like someone was stabbing my stomach.
Jesus.
Like not to give TMI, but it was like just straight blood in the stool. And that's like the first thing that I always tell people is
we want TMI. I want all the details. I want to get into it.
If you're not going to the bathroom normally, like that's a very clear indication that something is going wrong. And if there's blood at all, you should be getting checked out to go to the doctor.
At that point in time when the blood was entering the arena, were you getting scared?
It's so funny. I try to think back to my mindset. I don't think I was. I think I was just like, this isn't good, but it'll probably just go away on its own.
Right.
And what's interesting is with ulcerative colitis, it's most common actually in males in their 20s. And I'm curious, like, do other men have a similar mindset to what I have, where they're just naive or dumb, or they're confident and they just think it's going to go away on their own? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. That is interesting because I think about like what triggers me. Yeah. And it's like, for me, I think as a female, I think certain things scare females more than maybe men. But that makes sense to me that like being at that age, like this will be fine. It'll go away. Definitely.
And I think also my mindset at the time was like, at that point, I self-identified so much with baseball, and I really felt like my baseball career was a failure, and I just tried to brush it off. And I was like, well, I'm now going to self-identify with doing well on my job, drinking, womanizing. That was like kind of the pathway for me because I had a lot of pain around baseball. Right. And so I think now that this, like my first experience in New York was starting to go awry, I was like, well, let me just block this out because I just want to enjoy this experience. Right. And so, and that's ultimately what happened, where the last day of my internship, I actually got rushed to the hospital, Princeton Hospital. I ended up taking a cab from the city to Princeton, got checked in, and then that was when I got fully diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, which is an autoimmune disease that affects your large intestine. And any disease with an itis, it just means that you have severe inflammation, as you know.
But take me back that day, that all of a sudden, what changed in that day that you felt you had to go to the hospital compared to other days? At
that point, it was like, what's funny is this is the summer of 2016. my parents were actually not even in the United States. They were actually in Brazil for the Olympics.
Wow.
So I was by myself.
Yeah.
And at that point, I think I hadn't eaten solid food in like 2 to 3 days. I was drinking like Gatorade and saltine crackers. And then, I think at that point I was going to the bathroom like 30 times a day. Like it was just absurd. Like I couldn't function at that point.
Yeah.
And I was so dehydrated. I lost like 20 pounds. So I called my doctor and he was like, dude, you need to go to the emergency room immediately.
Right.
And that's what I did.
So you get there, they run a bunch of tests on you and they diagnose you with
ulcerative colitis.
And you say to yourself, what the hell is this? What is this? How did they present it to you? Like, what were your next steps following that?
Yeah, it was essentially, they do a colonoscopy. They tell me that I have ulcerative colitis, autoimmune condition that I will have for the rest of my life.
There's that absolute sentence. Yeah.
Yes. I remember my doctor saying, if there's nothing that you did wrong, you hit the bad end of a genetic lottery, which is insane because my college experience up to that point was binge drinking, not sleeping, eating a ton of processed food, being chronically stressed out with baseball, like doing everything imaginable to get an autoimmune disease, these dietary and lifestyle levers that you and I are aware of that get you sick. I was basically doing all of that. Right. So he just told me, he's like, look, you're going to be on a cocktail of drugs to get the inflammation out of your system. So they put me on oral steroids. They put me on a medication called Lialda. And then they put me on a biologic drug, which was called Remicade. The medical terminology for it is infliximab. And I was supposed to get a blood infusion every 8 weeks of that drug. Oh my God. And I think the medication was like, I'm fairly confident it was between $50,000 to $60,000 every single infusion. Fortunately, I was on my parents' health insurance. Right. Otherwise, I don't even know what you would do. You would be financially crippled for life, or you would just not get the medication that you need. Yeah. And just, there's people that lose their colons and die over this stuff too.
So you were literally given this insane diagnosis. You go from being like this healthy, incredible, young baseball player to now being like, holy shit, I have an autoimmune disease that is now incurable. Yeah. And I am being told that I am on the shit end of this genetic stick. So you leave the hospital and now you start to process next steps. So what did life look like for you following that diagnosis?
Well, what's funny is that I don't think that I had my light bulb moment until like 2 to 3 years after that.
So for 2 to 3 years, you are taking these medications. This is now your life. Yes. This is what I have. Yes. This is what I'm dealing and managing now.
My first thought after I got out of the hospital was like, when can I drink beer and eat McDonald's again? I swear to God. I know it sounds so crazy, right? But there was no needle being threaded around. Like, dude, your inability to take care of yourself and be a man and like have self-respect for your body, like that is the reason why you got sick. There was no connection. That didn't go off yet. It didn't go off yet. I'm listening to my doctor who's saying, oh, I'm genetically predisposed to getting this thing. Right. Meanwhile, I'm doing all of these things wrong. It's just that needle needs to be threaded for so many people, right?
And do you think that wasn't threaded because you were young?
Yeah, I think because I was young and I was still, keep in mind, I'm going back to my senior year of college. This was in the summer. Right. So I was just so embedded in everything that you do in college.
Right. Your life in college still needs to continue. Exactly. That's not going to be thrown off kilter. I get that.
Yeah. There's no like spiritual connection. God wasn't in the picture. It was literally just, I want to go back and live my life.
Got it. So now 2 to 3 years, now you're out of college. Now you start to work. When was the transition for you? Yeah. Bring me there.
Okay, so I think the first part of it was when I graduated college. I think a lot of people can relate to this. I really felt like I was pissing my potential down the toilet. I was like, I had these physical gifts. I know that I'm a smart guy. I have unbelievable parents. Like I've been given so much in life. And in college, I was a decent student. I could have been a lot better. I underachieved on the baseball field. I didn't feel great morally the way that I was dealing with other people. I felt like every bucket of life I was underachieving. And keep in mind, this is 2016, 2017. This is when David Goggins' content starts to get out into the ether and Jocko Willink. And I remember thinking to myself, you love listening to all of these guys that talk about discipline, that have this like militaristic mindset and talk about being a man, but you don't actually do the things that they say. You're a little bit more like a theorist. And I remember Goggins would just talk about, lacing up your running shoes and going on a run and the positive things that will come from that. And I remember I think when I graduated college, I was drinking so much that I think it was like 208 pounds or 210 pounds, which is a lot for me.
A lot of inflammation.
Yes. And I have like those wide-waisted white guy genetics where I hold a lot of inflammation. So my face gets really fat.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing pictures of myself, just thinking to myself, there was just this epiphany of, no, I think if you continue to do what you're going to do, you're really not going to like the man that you see in the mirror in 10 years. And I feel really fortunate that I was, 22 years old and had that epiphany. And I just remember lacing up my running shoes and just going for that first run on the treadmill. I think I put a towel in front of the treadmill and just ran on my own for 30 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just, it sounds so small, but these small bouts of physical discipline, they just build confidence that you're just a man or a woman that says they do what they say that they're going to do.
Yeah.
And it starts with yourself. So just got more into physical sports, half marathons, half Ironmans, all ultra marathons, all these kind of things. But the reason why I say that is that saying what I was going to do physically through the physical pursuits was very important. And then from a nutrition standpoint, when I got my job in the city and I was living with a roommate who was big into bodybuilding, so we would cook his meals all the time. And I started noticing that, hey, when he's making chicken or ground beef at home and I'm eating some of that, I feel better than the way that I do when I eat out.
Interesting.
So I remember having that cognizant realization of that. And then everything changed for me in 2019 because the carnivore diet started getting more popularized and people started creating content on social media about it.
Yeah.
That was the craziest thing that I ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah. So I want to learn more about this. So I know that going carnivore was like a pivotal point for you in time. And I think some people are familiar with what that means, but I want you to share, what does going carnivore mean? And literally, what did that entail for you? Like, what were you eating every day?
Definitely. When I first heard about it, I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
Because in some capacities, it feels extremely limiting and extreme.
Yes.
But I don't think that was the case for you. I think it was wildly healing for you.
No, and the reason why I talked about the physical stuff first is like, I needed to build a physical body of work that allowed me to connect the dots of like, hey, when you work hard, you actually feel really good.
Right.
And I started losing weight through the endurance stuff. And then the ticket that changed my life was ultimately the nutritional piece, the carnivore piece.
Well, and I do also think that everyone is paced accordingly.
Absolutely.
So I do think as things were dropping into your pathway, you were like slowly starting to rebuild your stepping stones as you were like, maybe you wouldn't have been able to handle carnivore right out of the gate. You need to get the first base layer in and then work towards the next level. Yeah.
Like everyone has their own kind of like gateway drug in terms of how they get started.
Yeah.
For some people, it's the physical stuff. They decide to sign up for a big race. For some people, it's like, hey, I just decided I want to eat paleo or whatever. And then that opens up the door. There's so many different ways to open up the door, but it's like, as long as you start with whatever lever that is for you, it ends up turning into something beautiful over the course of a decade.
So you go carnivore, and what was it about carnivore that you started to feel life breathing back in? You were like, this is working, like this is healing me.
So the carnivore diet is essentially where you cut out everything besides animal products. So any animal product, whether it's beef, chicken, fish, eggs, butter, people cooking beef tallow, which is beef fat, pork lard, and you're cutting out carbohydrates, sugars, fruits, vegetables, essentially anything that could potentially trigger inflammation into your body.
Really? So I didn't realize that it was also like no veggies.
No vegetables, no fruit. There's a version of it called the animal-based diet, which is meat and fruit. And then paleo is essentially meat products with vegetables and things like that, that were evolutionarily consistent with what our ancestors would have been eating. But the beauty of carnivore for people that are very sick is that it's only animal products. So anything that could potentially trigger an inflammatory response, in theory, you're cutting all of that out.
So you were kind of like shooting in the dark, giving this a go.
100%.
Yeah, like shooting in the dark. All right, this might be a little extreme, but let me see how this nets out. So you wake up for breakfast, and what were you cooking? Like a steak?
I remember going to Whole Foods in the Upper East Side, buying ribeyes, buying ground beef, buying eggs. Like I remember cooking a ribeye in the morning. I remember the first ribeye I ever made. I was like, am I gonna die of a heart attack?
Right.
Because that was how just conditioned, programmed with the incorrect information I was at that point.
Right.
Like I remember my mom who, it's like a whole chain of misinformation, like telling me that saturated fat is really bad for me. And I got to watch my red meat intake, and it's okay to eat heart healthy Cheerios.
And here you are.
Yeah.
Whipping up a red eye.
Yes. But you know what it was? I had the physical body of work, and then because the beauty of social media, I had seen a number of different people online that had either lost 100 pounds, claimed that they were curing ulcerative colitis and Crohn's and rheumatoid arthritis and other autoimmune diseases. I had seen enough of a body of work where I'm like,
there's something here.
Yes. If I'm 25 and I'm on a biologic drug, getting it every 8 weeks, and my life revolves around this thing, and here is a potential solution that comes from me just eating animal products, why would I not give that a shot for 2 weeks? What if it changes my life? And then if not, I just go back to the drugs. It's all good, but at least I'm going to try.
Right, exactly. So how far into being on this carnivore diet when did you feel a shift? Like, when were you like, oh shit, something is happening here?
3 days, day 3.
Stop.
I swear.
Stop.
I swear, everyone's journey is so different. I've met multiple other people because we've done 400 episodes of the show, right? A lot of people have experimented with a carnivore diet or some drastic dietary approach to heal themselves. There are some people like me where it takes them a couple days. Some people, it takes them a couple years, right? For whatever reason, my body, the ulcerative colitis that I had, the inflammation that I had, it did extremely well just cutting out processed foods, fruits, vegetables, anything that could elicit that inflammatory response. It just did unbelievably well.
Yeah.
Eggs, beef.
And how long would you say you stopped? Were you religious on this?
2 years.
2 years religious.
Yes.
Like, did not cheat once.
Yes. It was on day 3 when I told you I started to feel better, that light bulb moment that I didn't have getting out of the hospital finally went off. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking to myself, you are so fortunate because you figured out a tool that actually makes these issues in your stomach feel a lot better. Yeah. Now, what will happen if you actually go all in on this thing?
Yeah. It almost like you figured out like your superpower.
Definitely.
And then I think once you start to figure these things out, where like you're realizing this internally, where this magic is happening internally, it's not coming from an external like source, if you will. You're like, hold up. And like, you really feel that energetic shift, like move through your body.
Absolutely.
I think it's wild. Where do you think like being this young 20-something-year-old young man, like it's not common to be a young 20-something-year-old and to push back on a medical system. Mm-hmm. Where do you think that drive came from?
Oh, it's such a good question. I remember when I first started it being I was definitely nervous because you can relate to this, right? I think a lot of people can relate to this. Having this feeling of almost like your doctor is your CEO of your own health, and almost like the juror of your health at the 100%. Same time. And I remember having this feeling of, I am actually going to kind of reverse that paradigm and be the CEO of my own health and go off script a little bit. Yeah. But I just remember thinking, like, if these other people are saying that they're healing and I'm not fully healed and I'm relying on this drug that the medical system is pushing on me, is that really success? Is that really who I should be listening to? Right. If I try this for a couple of weeks and it doesn't go well, okay, I'll just go back to where I was. Yeah. So yeah.
It's almost like you get this little voice in you that starts to question, like, wait, something doesn't feel entirely right about this. And I think to your point, like, I know for me, when I was being told like, you're just going to have to manage things or this is that, it pissed me off because I felt like I was really being cornered, and I felt like it was making me feel like something was wrong with me, or I was like different, or like, you'll never be able to heal this. You'll never be able to heal that. Like, you're just going to have to manage it. And it really pisses me off to think about the amount of people that go to their doctors and whatever the doctor tells them is word of God, and that's it. Definitely. Like, that makes me sick. And I think what people don't realize is doctors are human beings. Yes. And they're doing the best that they can with what they know and with what you're presenting. But they, without question, do not know your complete bio-individual approach to how you should heal yourself. And I think once you get that rise up in you of, hold up, like, this isn't working for me, like telling me I can never heal or cornering me, that just doesn't like resonate for me as a human at all. Yes. So I know for me, very similar to you, Lou, like, you start to get this bubbling of, there has to be another way to go about this. And I just feel very grateful. I know, at least for me, that I had that bubbling up of, I have to go about this a different way. Absolutely. Yeah, it almost like starts as a whisper, right? It's 100% a whisper. And then by the end of it, you just build so much confidence. Yeah. But like, just even being able to start with that whisper and kind of pick your head up out of the sand and be like,
and just question, like, is this really the right thing that I should be doing? Is there anything else? Are there any other supplements or dietary interventions? Is there anything else that I could be doing to maybe get like the desired end result? Because if you're continuing to take these, just blanket follow the prescription and do what your doctor's telling you, and you don't feel good, that's not health.
Yeah, that's not health. Yeah. And aren't you the only patient in your GI's history or of his practice, I think you were saying, who took your health into your own hands, got off everything, and completely healed yourself?
Yeah, that's true. I did. I ended up doing strict carnivore for about 2 years. And in 2022, I've pushed my doctor to get me off of the drugs and the medication that I was taking. And so obviously before you do that, you're going to get a colonoscopy just to make sure that the inflammation is gone. Inflammation was gone, microinflammation was gone, and I've been off of it for 3 years.
Wow, that's impressive. I bet he absolutely uses you as like a case point for people that come in. But also, not everyone wants to do the work.
No.
And sometimes healing and doing the work is hard and it's not easy. And sometimes it is easier for some people to just stay on the medications and maintain and manage and whatever that looks like for them. And definitely. I kind of see both sides of it, but I think we can both say that the journey that you go on in terms of your healing journey is wildly beneficial and will be far greater than you ever think it is. And sometimes I almost think like we're put on these journeys for a reason, you know, to get us to the other side of something that's like waiting for us, that's greater. It's like the next stepping stone of our life.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about for like the concept of food being medicinal and the healing benefits of it. And it's really interesting for me because I've been on my healing journey now over 5 years. And to be honest, I don't really think our healing journeys ever come to this hard conclusion. Like I think certainly we heal things and we move on from things. But I think as humans, like life evolves and we're always learning and growing. And that to me is what like healing and wellness is. And in the beginning of my healing journey, when I like went all in on things and started making changes for myself, I always thought I was healthy. And even for me, like even in the last few months, like me trying to work on balancing hormones and stuff, I am learning so much about the medicinal power of food. And truly everything they put into your body will either fuel or fight disease. And I'm just so curious for you if you feel that same way, if you have the same outlook on food. And certainly there's days where I eat things where there is nothing medicinal about it. I'm feeding my soul and it feels damn good. And I will have many more of those days to come. But truly I can feel the power in my body when I'm eating well, or I'm looking at how will this food heal or populate my gut differently. And I'm like, holy shit, Lauren, you've been at this for 5 years. And just in the last few months with the new healers that you're working with and the new things you're learning, you are literally infiltrating your body in such a smart and different way. And it feels really powerful. And it also makes me realize that sometimes you don't need all these supplements. You don't need all these medications, that food can be very, very healing. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
Oh my gosh. It's such a good and loaded question. And I found that when we started the show and I had such great results on carnivore, anyone that would talk to me about like dietary changes that they should make, I would just blanket push them towards carnivore because it works so well for me. And like you were saying, with all the things that you've tried, when something works well and you have a friend or a loved one that's in pain or not operating, the first thing you want to do is like, you want to shout at the rafters and try and help them as much as you can, especially when you have this incredible experience. And what I've learned is that I think carnivore is an unbelievable short-term tool. And there are people that are extremely sick that have done it for long-term. But my goal is that I want to be able to build a permeable gut and live my life in such a way that I can eat fruits, I can eat vegetables, I can have sourdough bread, I can have dairy and yogurt if I want to do that. If we're out with our significant others and we want to go get a pizza somewhere really good in North Jersey, like I want to be able to do that and not have guilt around those things. I think it's very easy to almost associate nutrition in a tribal way, like religion almost. I think that's kind of what we're seeing in 2025. And I have a lot of sympathy for people that maybe they want to just lose 20 pounds and they go on social media and they don't know where to start because this person is telling you plants are toxic. This person is telling you meats are terrible. Hey, you need to drink this type of water, take this type of supplement.
It's a lot sometimes. The wellness world is like an overload.
100%. I am very similar to you where I'm like, if you're just starting by shopping at the outer aisle of the grocery store, eating, 3 to 4 balanced meals a day, getting animal protein in a serving size of the palm of your hand, and just prioritizing single ingredient real foods and getting, close to a gram of protein per pound of gram of animal protein per pound of ideal body weight that you have. I think that's just such a good starting point.
Yeah, and I think it's very important. I want listeners to really make sure they heard what you just said. Carnivore was a tool to help heal you for a certain period of time, to then get you to the external freedom of being able to enjoy all foods across the gamut. I think that's really important, because I think when you're given that absolute sentence of, this is what you're dealing with, you're never going to heal, it's very scary. You feel very trapped. It's very overwhelming. Then everyone's telling you, remove this, remove that, no gluten, no dairy. And you're like, I don't want to live like this.
100%.
I want to eat whatever the hell I want, and I want to do what I want. And it becomes a lot. And you can feel that anxiety start to build in you. And I think it's really important for people to really hear what you just said, that it's just for a time period. It's to get things back to stable ground, to a place of neutrality, to like rebuild the fortress so that you can enjoy all these other things as life and healing evolves.
To your point, I think that's so well said. We were talking about like the whispers of intuition of like, maybe we could do something different. I think the same thing is also true with like the whole purpose of this healing journey. I think like we should be building intuition with ourselves, right? Like I love this Apple Watch, for example, but if I need to rely on a smartwatch to tell me whether I slept well or if my stress is too high or something like that, I think we're kind of getting lost in the sauce. My whole point of saying this is like the best thing I did going carnivore is I literally kept a food journal and I logged everything that I was eating. I would log my energy levels after the meal. I would log the number of bowel movements I was having, the hours I was sleeping. And so what that did was when I started adding in foods, I would be like, okay, I had steak and I had broccoli. I had bloating and gas and issues afterwards. So I'm probably not ready for like cruciferous vegetables. Oh, I did blueberries and strawberries. Actually felt really good. And I did some yogurt. So I was able to start incorporating these things back in.
Right. And like intuitively learning what works best for Brett.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's really important. I find myself doing that too.
Just learning to develop intuition where like eventually your body will tell you, hey, you know what? I'm actually eating this ribeye. I want the fat cap. Right. Okay, maybe my body is a little bit depleted in fat. Oh, maybe I don't actually want this thing because you had a fattier meal or an avocado before then. It's like when you're actually feeding it single ingredient real foods, we have this incredible machinery that's going on where we actually know to digest, process these things, and it will communicate to you what you want. But most people are just in this processed food rabbit hole that,
I actually, to that point, what you're saying is dead on for me. I find when you start getting really intentional and healthy with what you're putting into your body gets really, really smart in communicating to you what you need. So for example, the other day I was learning about the benefits of kiwis and how they have like incredible vitamin C's and they're just super, super good for your system. They're like better than an apple a day. And I started eating kiwis. And the other morning I woke up craving a kiwi. And it's like tuning into that intuitive sense of like, maybe there's something in that kiwi, the fiber, the vitamin C that your body intuitively needs. And I think when another good point for people to think of is when you're healing and you're lightening the load in your system and you're then inputting health, your body levels up.
Yes.
And it's like everything you're putting in your body is leveling you up. It's like your systems are getting smarter. The whispers are getting stronger that you're hearing. And what you're supposed to be inputting just gets really, really intentional. And it's true. Your body communicates to you on what you need. And I think it's really, really important to listen to that.
Yes.
So I want to talk about anxiety a little bit. We've touched upon a couple of times as we've been talking how when a doctor gives you that absolute sentence of this is what you have, it's never going to go away. I know for me in the beginning of all this, that really scared me. Like hearing from a doctor, like, you'll just have to manage, your symptoms. And if you have a flare up with your skin, like we could put you on medication to calm it down. And I was like, hold up. I was like, and everything you just said is not working for me. Like on a deep fundamental level. And I noticed though that what that was doing to me was it was layering this anxiety on me that something was wrong. I was never going to be able to fix something. And what I've also realized in time is at that point in time when my systems were going AWOL, it's because my systems were going AWOL. My systems were screaming out to me, Lauren, we need you to come back home. We need you to just like get us stable again. And I'm so curious on what your thoughts on, do you think there's a connection between like your gut and what you're feeling in your body. You know, they often say like the gut is your second brain. And I don't think a lot of people realize this, that so much of what goes into your gut, what your gut is harboring, what it is breeding, can really energetically affect your system. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. And even like looking back at your journey, was there a layer of anxiety in all this? And did that dissipate as you started to heal?
100%. I think to your point, I almost treat the gut, I almost feel like we know as much as the gut as we do about outer space. And the more that time progresses, we're going to understand how crucial managing our gut health actually is for our overall health. There's 1000% a correlation. I remember going to Babson. I was in the most, right before I got sick, I was in the most stressed state of my life. And that's just, since I've been a little kid, I just do everything very tense. Like I could be very serious at times. And I think if you channel that in the right direction, it can be very good, but it could also be detrimental too. And I actually know, even though I've been drug free for a few years, whenever I've gotten a few mini flare ups.
Yeah.
Anytime I've ever gotten a mini flare up, it's because I'm in an incredibly stressful time of the business, or I'm traveling, or I'm not sleeping well. But I know for sure that being able to actually manage that stress, whether it's through like the spiritual practice I have, whatever it is, it's unbelievably important.
Yeah.
And Western medicine doesn't really talk a lot about that. But for me, it's the cherry on top that will always make me get out of whack.
Well, and I think on the flip side of that, it can become a gift. So it's like you're aware of all these things that are going on to your body. You're realizing that you do not like how you feel energetically with what's happening. So that certainly is a catalyst in and of itself to want change. And then you get yourself to such a better playing field, where then when you are not honoring yourself and not honoring your boundaries and not doing good by your body, and you start to get a little bit off kilter, things start to flare again.
Yes.
So it's like, instead of getting scared, like, wait a second, what is happening? It's like, no, hold up. I know what to do. I have the tools. My body is trying to like ring the alarms. I often say the universe will give you a feather and a hammer.
Yes.
So it's like, once you come back to home base and you're in a place of healing, it's okay that the feather comes very gently.
Yes.
It's like, you're getting a little bit off kilter, come back home. So I think I have felt that way in my journey as well.
I've actually never heard that analogy before, but I love that. But to your point, it's like the symptoms are a gift.
Yeah.
You're getting very quick feedback, and then you can adjust based on the things that you might not necessarily be doing right. Like, I just know for myself, if I'm traveling a lot and I start dipping back into processed foods and I'm checking my phone really late at night, I'm not prioritizing sleep, I start to feel those pains again.
Yeah.
Oh, there might be like a little bit of blood in the stool, urgency to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, all right, now we need to course correct. Let's go back to single ingredient processed foods, a lot of broths, prioritizing 8 hours of sleep. Like, to your point, you just knowing how to manage it is 99% of the battle.
Getting back to your fundamentals.
Yes.
What is dairy's role in the human body? So, we talked a little bit about how when you're on a healing journey, there's so many things that get removed. I know for me that gluten and dairy have been two main things. I mean, when I pulled them from my systems, it was like somebody put a pin in me. The inflammation decreased significantly. Now, granted, the dairy that I was probably ingesting at that point was wildly processed. It wasn't good dairy. But even some really well-known wellness leaders will say, like, stay away from the gluten, stay away from the dairy. What are your thoughts on dairy and the benefits, if there are any, for the human body?
This is a hot topic, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone is talking about raw milk right now. So this is the thing with this. It's a nuanced topic, because essentially the milk that we are drinking is not what we're actually designed to be drinking. So essentially what happened was, in the early 1900s, post-industrial revolution, all milk was raw and unpasteurized. And then as we started building and industrializing, we essentially created these industrial dairies where the cows were like literally on top of each other, incredibly dirty. They were like defecating on top of each other. They weren't processing the milk. They called it swill milk because the milk had like a bluish hue to it.
Sounds really gorgeous.
It's but their children were drinking this, and the infant mortality rate was 50%.
Wow.
So lawmakers at the time essentially had this choice where it was, hey, we could either pasteurize it, so heat the milk up to a really high temperature and kill off all the bad bacteria, or we can actually just course correct and build dairies that are not so industrialized, with safer living conditions. The cows aren't on top of each other, et cetera. They chose with the first option, which is simply just pasteurize it, right? And that's the thing. That's something that you learn a lot with just our food laws in general, or these policies are very outdated.
Yeah.
So
and seem to be like either the easy way out or perhaps even the biggest money maker.
Yes. And like you mentioned, raw dairy, when it's not pasteurized, there's a lot of amazing bacteria that's actually really good for your gut health, digestive enzymes, things like that you get access to in its raw form. I do think for certain people that milk in general can be very harsh and intolerant on certain people's stomachs.
Yeah.
So that's what I say. If you decide that you want to start drinking raw milk or good quality grass-fed milk, kind of that food journal methodology of like really notice your stomach after you're drinking the raw milk. Right. And I would drink it on its own without anything else. So you're kind of removing some of the other
because
variables.
You're also in a way introducing different populations into your system, and you don't really know until you input whether your system's going to go left or right.
Definitely.
Yes. So I guess it's also kind of like for all things with new things that you're introducing, like seeing what works best for you.
Yes. Like milk, it's so true. In milk, it has unbelievable fat soluble vitamins in it. It's got great digestive enzymes. I think it just depends on the form, and then also just like your genetic makeup a little bit. I'll tell you for myself, I don't do super great with raw milk. I'll throw in some half and half or raw cream or something like that in my coffee every once in a while. Every once in a while, I'll make a smoothie with some raw milk, but a lot of times I'll just do milk, or I like cream because the lactose content is a little bit lower than actual milk.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. I haven't jumped on that bandwagon either. I could see how it could be really incredible for some people. I don't think for my system, I don't think it would do me right. How do you feel methodology wise, now that you're on the other end of healing? How do you approach things as they come up? So like, do you get flare-ups? And if you do, how has your methodology changed and how you approach it, both physically and emotionally?
That's such a good question. I would say I probably average like one mini flare up a year, I would say. And the reason for that is that I had this 2-year stretch where I was extremely strict because at that point I was just so desperate to heal.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I struggle with it. There are a lot of stressful moments around the business. There are a lot of times where I don't want to get 8 hours of sleep. There's times where I want to go out and eat processed foods. And I can live a life where I do those things. But whenever the mini flare-ups come up, it's because I do too many negative iterations for a long enough time period that's when those symptoms start to come back up. But like we were saying before, the biggest catalyst for me is stress. I put a lot of pressure on myself with the business. My livelihood's dependent on it. My future wife's livelihood, my business partners, our employees.
I get that.
It's been a deeper topic that I've been exploring on, like just forcing myself to enjoy the journey a little bit more and work to be in a little bit more of a flow state versus viewing everything as being so performative. Because I think when you look at these parallels, you have these patterns in your life that just repeat. And I think with baseball, I was just so singularly focused on trying to get the best outcome to prove to myself or my parents or whoever that I could be this great baseball player. I think that's ultimately the thing that got me sick to begin with.
Yeah. And I think what's important for people to hear is that life is always going to ebb and flow and come at you in different ways. And it's how quickly can you get back to neutrality?
Yes.
So it's like for you, if you are operating in an arena that feels like high stress, and sometimes in some arenas, high stress can be beneficial because people thrive off it and it's fuel for them. But I think it's about how quickly can you come back to home base. And I actually did this wild, a healer I was working with, and they put this contraption on me, and somehow it was able to manage, like literally see energetically in my body how I manage stress. And he literally said to me, Lauren, I have never had anyone sit in this chair and so neutrally positioned in the center of where you are. And I needed to see that, because sometimes when life flows at me, sometimes the way I react feels like very like charged. And I was like, no, I'm actually doing it. Like life is going to ebb and flow, but all the tools that I'm implementing for myself are actually working.
Yes.
So I think that's important for people to know, is that like life is going to always flow at you and come at you. There's going to be good moments, bad moments, high moments, low moments, but it's how quickly can you get yourself back to neutrality and use these moments of flare-ups, whether it be emotionally or physically, as a moment of this is happening for you.
Definitely.
So I think that's really important to note.
Wasn't that such a good feeling? That's like a manifestation of all the hours and all the time and energy that you've invested into this healing journey, like it truly is working.
Oh yeah. And I think for my personality, there has to be some sort of like conclusions of things.
Yes.
Like we can't be on these hamster wheels forever.
Yes.
So it's like to get to a place where you shift your perspective is, I think, is really powerful. And it's actually, you know, something that I wanted to connect with you on is I feel like my healing journey was like, what if it was always supposed to be this way? What if everything you had gone through and everything I had gone through was exactly what it was supposed to be, because we were supposed to be exactly where we are right now. And when I look back and I think like the physical flare-ups that arose for me, I think really was just a way to get me to come back home to me and to really be more divinely aligned with what I am charged and supposed to be doing in this second chapter of my life and what fuels me in this passion, which is everything I'm doing now. And do you feel like looking back at like everything you've gone through, like that it all happened according to plan? Like I consider us light workers. I consider people who walk these harrowing healing journeys. It's not easy, Brett, you know, to go through some of these things that you go through and to come out on the other end of it and to want to share and help people. I think about that. Like, was it always supposed to be this way? Are we supposed to be the light workers? You know, are we supposed to be the next ones that shine the lights for everyone else that's coming through the dark tunnels? And I'm just curious on what your thoughts are on that.
100%. I actually ended up getting rebaptized about 2 years ago in Austin, Texas. I had this triathlon coach, Natasha, who you'll meet at our wedding in a couple days, who she was seeing some of the spiritual things that I was posting. And she just was like, I really think you should just come with me to this non-denominational church in Austin. And I remember going and just really, there was something different about this church. I was raised Roman Catholic, and it's essentially just set off this 2-year journey, really just connecting with Jesus and exploring my faith. And what's helped me a lot is just, I just don't think that there are any coincidences. I think there's a lot of things that we might not, certain aspects of loss that we might not ever understand on this earth yet. When you connect the dots and I see the version of the woman that you are and where God has ultimately put us, I just know that we're exactly where we're supposed to be. It's like, this barn is a manifestation of the healing journey that you went on. Like my business, the Noble, the protein powder that you use, that literally would not be in existence if I didn't have that experience a few years ago.
Yeah, it's really, a mentor once said to me, the mystery of life is really incredible. And the unknowns of all the things to come is wild. And I feel I have such deep gratitude, like when I get to these milestone moments of like really pausing and like looking back and being like, Lauren, like be really proud of yourself. Like you're sitting in this chair because of everything you just went through. And, you have all the success you're having because of everything you just went through. And how would you, somebody who's at the beginning stages of like what we've walked, who was just given that absolute sentence of this is what you have, you're never going to heal. How would you emotionally armor them? What would you say to them to breathe life into them, to move on to the next steps?
I would say what gave me a lot of confidence is that when I honestly think it was a divine thing where I think for whatever reason, God did sprinkle in this seed of like, what if it is possible to heal? Like that was the first crack that opened up. But something that helped me a lot is I remember, even though this was 2019, so there's so much more data and all this information in the alternative health space, there's so many more healing stories that are possible.
Yeah.
I would just Google whatever condition you have, say it's rheumatoid arthritis, carnivore, or paleo, or rheumatoid arthritis healing journey, whatever that thing is for you. You would be pretty amazed if you do a quick search or if you go on a Reddit forum, how many people have healed from something similar to you.
Yeah.
And once I started connecting and understanding that there were other people with ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, IBS, whatever, that had healed through similar practices, I just remember thinking to myself, why can't I heal if these other people were able to do that? And what's given me a lot of courage, and I think you a lot of courage too, is just the human body is such a resilient piece of machinery.
Yeah.
And I know that the old adage is that Rome wasn't built in a day, and it also didn't decay in a day.
Yeah, 100%.
It was thousands of incorrect iterations that led to you getting sick and me getting sick.
Yep.
And by a similar proxy, it's like there are a lot of iterations that will take to you to rewire that and gain your health back.
Yeah.
But it's possible. And I think there's this beautiful thing that happens where you just fall in love with the process of healing.
Yeah.
I think that's the end goal, is if you could just love the feeling of, hey, I've been doing this thing for 45 days. I still have these issues, but these things got a little bit better.
Right.
And like you get that natural dopamine hit.
And then it just starts to like slowly build. And I love what you said, because that's so true. Like our health tipping the scale did not happen overnight. It was a slow burn at the candlestick, over time. And then on the flip side of that, it's going to take time, because if you and I healed, if we had gone on one medication and everything had changed, or if we had healed overnight, we would have never learned everything we just acquired over the last few years. So you really need to trust that you are being paced accordingly. Yeah. And I think building on top of everything you're saying, I think there's also a lot of beauty in not knowing what to do, and just literally whoever you believe in, whether it's the universe, whether it's God, whomever it is, like taking a moment and saying out loud, whatever it is you need me to do next, put people, places, and things in front of me to help me get to that next point. Yes. And I think it's wild and very real how those things start infiltrating your pathway, and how you start meeting people, or you have a quiet thought and a thought pops up into your mind, or you push back on something, or you question something, and it's getting you to come back home and believing that, and just remembering that like whoever is giving you input and advice, really taking a moment of asking yourself, like, does this work for me?
Yes.
Does this work for me? Respecting what they have to say, put it in your back pocket, and then say, like, how do I want to perceive what's best for Lauren, or what's best for Brett, or yourself? So something I love, I was listening to one of your former podcasts, and you had shared 3 tips when shopping the grocery store. And I think one of the tips was shop the outer aisles first. And I'm like, I love that. So basically what you're saying is don't hit the center aisle with the Cheetos. Yes. You're like, shop the real food on the outer aisle. So like, what are those 3 tips in terms of approaching a grocery store? Because I think stemming off of what we were just talking about, when you do get an absolute sentence, or you're going through a health situation, some very easy things you could do is to make very small changes in terms of what you are eating. So like for me, when I was super overwhelmed, 2 small changes I made at the very beginning was I pulled back on my gluten, and I started drinking a ton more water. Those were 2 simple things for me. So I think food plays a massive role in all this. And I think everyone shopping at the grocery store can feel overwhelming when you are making lifestyle changes. So what would be your 3 tips going to the grocery store?
Well, what's incredible is do you know that there's 48,000 products in the average grocery store?
I did not know that.
And 90% of those products are controlled by 10 companies, like the Unilevers, the Procter & Gamble's, the Kellogg's, the General Mills, et cetera.
Yeah.
So pretty much all of these companies are publicly traded. And I don't mean this to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but they're publicly traded. So they have a fiduciary responsibility to optimize for their shareholder profits. They're going to use cheaper quality oils. They're going to use artificial food dyes to make it more colorful and flavorful, and for these things to pop. Yeah. It's not a conspiracy. It's just it's unfortunately like a byproduct of their incentive. So my whole point is that if 90% of these products are hyper palatable, they're super processed, they have 10 plus ingredients, it's like man-made foods are going to create man-made diseases. And so the easiest thing you can do is, if you're just sticking to that outside perimeter, that's actually where the single ingredient real food,
it's where all the real food lies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like if it has like, you should be looking for food that has a shelf life of like 2 weeks or less, right?
Yeah.
If your food doesn't die, it's probably not food,
not real
right?
food.
It's not living. It was, you should be consuming things that were formerly living. What I do for myself is, after a lot of trial and error, I try and figure out how much meat is obviously the cornerstone of the way that I approach nutrition. So I figure out how much meat do I need on a daily basis. It typically comes out to around 2 pounds of meat for me a day. I weigh 195 pounds. And then I go every 3 days and I just customize what meats I want. Sometimes it's lean steak, sometimes it's fatty steak, sometimes I want chicken thighs, chicken breast, bison, things that you really love.
Right.
Like I think a lot of people, they start eating these foods that they don't actually enjoy.
Right.
Like if you like salmon, have salmon, don't eat red meat. Like just starting off with just the foods that you actually love.
Yeah.
And calculating how much of that you should be eating on a daily basis, and just sticking to the outer aisle of the grocery store, and just like learning how to cook your own meals. Like I remember something I did in the beginning was I would learn 1 new dish a week.
Yeah.
And it was really fun. And then you look back over the course of 3 months and you're like, I have like 15 new dishes right now that I could work into the repertoire. And it's really not that hard or time consuming.
And it's also in the excitement of cooking something new, it's also probably introducing new things to your gut microbiome that
absolutely
that you wouldn't normally have.
Yes. And I also found that cooking was it was one of the most present activities that I ever done before. I'd have this hard day at work. I'd be in New York City. Your nervous system is going crazy. I'm in the sales role, and I would just come back home. And I just loved like seasoning a steak, throwing it into a pan, like learning how to tinker and get better with it. I love that.
I love that you feel that way, because people feel that like cooking food is very therapeutic.
Yes.
I don't find it to be therapeutic. I'm like, it like stresses me out, but I can see how for people like being in the kitchen and slowing down and like preparing your meals feels like a very therapeutic process.
Absolutely.
I need to get more on that therapeutic process.
It's a constant process.
Yeah.
It's just, but I think it's a good tip in general where it's like, what are the things, are you conscious of the things where you actually feel like you're able to turn your brain off and be present?
Yeah.
I have very few things where my brain is not constantly going a mile a minute, but I just noticed with cooking, you know, you feel good because you're like, I'm either going to go to the farmer's market, go to the grocery store, maybe even go to a local ranch. I worked really hard to source this stuff and I'm paying my hard-earned money for good quality food. Now let me like cook it and prepare it properly. And I just noticed it almost felt like art a little bit.
Yeah, totally. All right. So tip number one is shop your outer aisle, shop the real foods.
Yes.
Tip number two is do not shop anything that has an expiration date.
Yes.
Do your best.
Do your best.
Do your best to not shop anything that has an expiration date. And tip number three is have fun and maybe introduce a new cooking food item each week into your repertoire. I love this.
Yeah. I don't know if you feel the same way too. I like going every like 3 days. I kind of I do like a trip on Sunday and then a trip on Wednesday where I break it up. The food is a little bit fresher too.
I agree with that. The way that's very similar to how I break down when I think about dinners for my family. I find I break them down in 3-day buckets because I think when I go to the butcher or when I go to get fish, for me, my brain silos in 3 ways. And I think that's also because whatever I'm putting on the plate for them is real. So there's only so long of a shelf life and how it needs to be cooked and executed. So I agree with that too. So on the topic of eating real food, nutrient dense food, I want to talk about Noble a little bit. So nose to tail nutrition. This is your baby. This is your protein brand. It makes me giggle a little bit because when you handed me a bag of Noble and you said to me, Lauren, I want your brutal feedback on this. I was like, Jesus Christ, Brett, you shouldn't have asked me that because as a Virgo, you're going to ask me for my feedback. It is going to come back so raw and honest. You're going to get it. But I love this protein brand. I love the taste of it. It feels the brand to me and what you included in it feels so smart and so intentional. So I'm curious on what the impetus was behind the name and what made you want to create a protein brand.
Well, number one, I remember Dana telling me, I was like, hey, I sent Lauren Noble and I asked for a brutally honest feedback. And Dana was like, no, if she hates it, she will tell you. Do not worry about that from her. So I'm like, all right, this is like, you need friends like that though. I don't want to be the type of friend that doesn't tell someone the actual truth. That's why I wanted to send it to you so you could try it and see.
Because real friends want you to win.
Absolutely.
So if there's something that's like, wait, I'm catching this or this tastes a little off, I want to share that because I want you to succeed.
Yes. Yeah, being able to take feedback, that's a whole other podcast.
But you nailed it. So
yes, but the purpose of it was Harry and I, my business partner who I co-host the podcast with, and he's my co-founder of Noble. We both went to college together. We played baseball together. We'd had these different healing stories going carnivore and paleo and putting in all these reps and iterations. And in the middle of COVID, we were just dying to create a podcast and just put this information out because similar to you, you see so many people that you love and care about that are struggling, that are going through life with a parking brake on. Yeah. And you're like, I've learned a lot of really good information.
I love that.
Yes.
Going through life with a parking brake on.
That's how it feels.
True.
That's how
like
it felt.
Like a lot of hesitancy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're just like, if you just knew these simple things and just put in enough iterations and did this the right way, your life could be like almost magical. That's what it felt like when we figured our health out. So we start the podcast, we start writing on Twitter. A lot of our content does super well. And we had no path to monetize it, but there was something like in my subconscious where I think I knew that I wanted a product. I just didn't know like what God wanted it to be. And Harry and I had a lot of confidence around if we build the right audience and you listen to your audience, they will tell you exactly what you should be doing. And that was kind of naive, but that's just what we thought. And
I also think when your heart is centered in the right way, you had a whisper and an intuition, the two of you, in wanting to do this to help people.
Yes.
And I think when your heart is set in the right way, like at first it wasn't about monetizing it. It was like, we want to build something that can really help people and change the landscape a little bit. I firmly believe that when you're centered in alignment, everything else will come your way.
Definitely. Yeah, I remember I was working a full-time corporate job when we started Mafia. I was living in San Diego. I was working a consulting job, and I remember doing like 5 podcasts in one day while I was working a corporate job. Oh my God. But
I couldn't imagine that. The pressure and stress that I felt for executing today.
I was making up doctor's appointments. But
where there's a will, there's a way. And you were burning for something else.
I think so many people are just dying to create something, right? Yeah. And what you just said reminds me of, I think it's Mark Andreessen's quote, where it's, when you know what you want, the world has its way of kind of opening up around you to create that thing.
True.
And we just got so many questions from our audience around, what supplements do you recommend? What protein powders do you recommend? And the more research we started doing in the category, we were like, all right, the industry is $27 billion. Almost every protein powder is whey protein, which is this cheap byproduct of the cheese making process that is incredibly bloating and disruptive for a lot of people's stomachs. Yep. So you're like, hey, I'm a woman. I should be getting, a gram of protein per pound of body weight. And then you take this cheap whey protein powder and your stomach feels terrible and it ruins your whole day.
Right. So you think you're being healthy because you're having a protein powder in a smoothie, but it's actually harming you.
100%.
Yeah.
And so it's either cheap whey protein. There's some good whey protein, but 90% of the whey protein powders are garbage, or it's plant-based protein, which is not bioavailable. It's also going to disrupt your gut. And we started doing more research, and we came across beef protein isolate, which you're essentially taking the lean muscle tissue of the animal, the bones, some of the collagenous parts of it too, and you're actually able to freeze dry it and turn it into a protein powder. And I remember prototyping and taste testing some of it and thinking to myself, well, I have a really sensitive stomach and I can't do whey at all. This feels amazing. And then so we're like, oh wow, there might actually be something here. Then we go back to our manufacturer. We started adding grass-fed organs into it, collagen, colostrum, essentially all the ingredients that Harry and I had used for years to really help heal our stomachs and just give us this incredible health. We just turned all that into a protein powder, and that's actually how we started.
I thought that the ingredients were very smart and very intentional. And it's interesting because there's so many ingredients out there, and some feel a little bit more marketable than others.
Absolutely.
Like you're hearing a lot about now about like pearl powder and stuff. And I noticed that one of your ingredients was leucine, and that really caught my eye. I don't know if people are aware of like the importance of amino acids in your body and how they're building blocks for everything else. But simultaneously, when I was trying your protein powder, I had just run lab work on myself, and some of my amino acids were super, super low, including leucine. And I was like, that's so interesting to me that is one of their intentional ingredients. Were there any ingredients that you were like, this isn't a right fit for our brand, or was it more just focusing on like the ones that you knew worked for your systems?
The reason why we put the leucine in it, one of the benefits to whey versus a beef protein isolate is that whey is technically it's a complete protein powder, so it has all the amino acids in it. Yep. The only one that beef protein doesn't have is leucine, so we exogenously add it to it. So
then that got you your complete profile.
Exactly.
It's very, very cool.
But I would say the biggest learning was when you start dealing with manufacturers, just the amount of additives and fillers and flavorings and things that they just try and sneak into your product.
Yeah.
Harry and I essentially just lifted our heads up and just said to ourselves, why can't there be something that tastes like dessert? It's incredibly nutrient dense. It's gut friendly for women. And it just mixes really easily, just blending all of these things together.
Yeah, it literally tastes like dessert. It's like a chocolate milkshake. It's wild. And it's the fact that something can taste that good and be intentional and nutritious for your body. I think you guys put together a really, really smart product. It's very, very cool.
Thank you.
So interviewing, on your podcast, a ton of people in the wellness space, I find that you've interviewed a lot of people that have also had really incredible healing stories, and they've moved on to developing brands, and they've been wildly successful as CEOs and as entrepreneurs. And being an entrepreneur now yourself, I'm so curious, sitting down with some of these people, have you seen a theme strung throughout these people of what makes them tick a certain way, or what has made these people successful? Have you noticed any themes throughout with people in this wellness space who are like yearning to change the world and have their own health success stories?
Oh man, that's one of the things that I'm the most excited about with your show, is just seeing the people that you're going to have on and the relationships that you're going to build. And when you do over 400 episodes, it's almost tough to pick out. There's just been so many amazing people that we've spoken to, but we've sat down with, Mark Sisson, who founded Primal Kitchen. They sold to Kraft for $200 million right before COVID.
That was a good day.
Yeah, that was not a bad day.
That was a good day.
And he was one of our heroes. We sat down with Taylor Collins. Him and his wife, Katie, started Epic Bar, which they sold to General Mills, and they have Force of Nature now too.
Yeah.
I think I would say if we're talking about a health and wellness founder perspective, the most common traits that I see are that I think belief becomes before their ability. Just this blanket feeling of like, God has kind of given me this vision, or this is just something that I have to do, and I need to turn it into something real and material.
Yeah.
And I don't have there might be a competency gap between my skill set and where I want to go, but I know that I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
I think belief becoming for ability is huge. I think all of these people, these founders that I met, their teams are absolute rock stars too.
Like surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yes. And they might not even be massive teams. It might even be a smaller team.
Yeah.
And their hires might not even have been conventional hires. They might have not even come from the same industry. They might have been really young, but they attracted people that were already intrinsically interested in the mission.
Yep.
And if you're intrinsically interested in the mission, you will do whatever you can to get your skill set up to standard too.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. Because even when I think about, I love you saying the belief before the ability, because I think that really hones in on what we were just talking about. Yeah. Like when your heart is centered in the right place, like everything else just flows. And I just think when you are like centered so in alignment with your source and your inner purpose, it's like really incredible, like the magic that can come from all of that. When you think about like those inner whispers, or, whether it's God talking to you or the universe talking to you, I know you've always had a strong faith. Did that transition at some point? You kind of talked about like when you were younger, like some more deeper light bulb moments coming on, but where has your faith played in all of this in your healing journey? And do you think it's been a major catalyst behind all your success?
Man, what's funny is that I think even atheists have faith, right? We all have faith in something. It's just a matter of where we put it.
Yeah.
But whether it's entrepreneurship, choosing to heal from something that's incurable, starting a business from scratch, like there is a blanket element of faith to all of those things.
Yeah.
It's the belief becoming before the ability. It's like, it's not something that I can logically explain to you. It's just a feeling that I have.
Yeah.
And when you speak to enough people that share similar experiences, it almost seems like there's a playbook to success, and faith is like the cornerstone of that entire thing. And at the end of the day, you and I are going to feel some way when we go to sleep at night. So why would I not choose to believe in a higher power and a father that loves you and loves me, that has a perfect plan for us that will connect all the dots? Like that's the way that I would prefer to go through life, versus just thinking that we're just this randomized series of events and there's no purpose behind anything that we do. I'd rather have faith.
Yeah. And I think with the faith brings a level of safety too.
Yes.
Like this deep inner knowing, this deep level of safety. And I agree, like looking back on my journey these last few years, there has been something so strong that has been beating in me that is only a feeling that I can feel. I don't really know how to explain it. And it's like, I just keep doing Lauren. My husband and I say about each other all the time, like we just keep doing us. Like our family operates a certain way. We operate a certain way. It's just this inner drumming that I have in me that is so connected, like so divinely connected. And it feels so much bigger than me and so much more powerful than me, and it just makes me feel safe, so that when life ebbs and flows with me, or maybe I get a little rocked, that I'm like, wait, let me come back to that inner knowing, that faith, that deep sense. And I think when you can lock into that, you can really fly
100%.
With things.
I mean, think about your show. You could have easily been like, nope, I'm going to rent a studio space. Nope, we'll do it over Zoom for like the first 50 episodes.
Yep.
Nope. Instead, we've got this beautiful barn, this incredible setup with these personalized mics. We've got Sam, who's producing the show. That's incredible. Like that is faith. And I think God rewards that stuff. I really do.
Yeah, I do too. I am beating to my own drum right now. And I've said from day one, I don't know where this is taking me, but I'm trusting the ride.
Absolutely.
And I am loving it. So, looking back at younger Brett with where you are now, younger Brett just getting diagnosed, and as far as you've come, what would you say to him now?
Is this me in the hospital bed?
Could be.
I remember sitting in the hospital bed, having an iPad, just like watching these like food videos, just wanting to get back out, get back to college so badly. The reason why Harry and I ended up reconnecting is we went on this run when we were training for the Ironman together in 2021. I was in New York City. He was living in Boston. So I went up to visit him. We ran on the Charles. It was like this beautiful night. We ended up going on a 13-mile run, and we both shared to each other that we were very terrified of just not achieving our potential in our late 20s, and just understanding what the next 10 years could look like, or what we don't want it to look like. And I think I had some of those similar feelings even when I was sick and when I was 21 years old, and I just didn't have like the courage to start acting on any of that stuff. And I wish that version of myself, I would just tell him, like, you'd be pretty amazed, like, if you just start taking even just like a single step towards the things that you really want. Because like some of those, like this burning passion to want to start my own business, all of that stuff was in there. I was just really afraid, which is why I went for the partying and the alcohol, and I was just trying to mask some of the things that were really present deep down. And I wish I just understood that. I don't regret everything needed to happen.
Yeah, 100%.
But I just think about these young people that if you get in the game when you're young, just what that will lead to, you'll be unbelievable by the time you're 30 years old.
Yeah. Where do you think you want to be in 5 years? When you look 5 years out, what are some of your dreams and hopes that you are maybe slowly starting to manifest and build upon?
Man. Well, I think the most important thing is, like, I just want to be the best husband to my wife that I could possibly be to. Like, I just have so many moments where I feel like God really gave me a gift getting to marry her, and it makes me really emotional when I talk about it.
He did give you a gift.
Yeah.
So sweet.
I really feel that. Yeah. And so I think about like really just wanting to be the best husband for her. I really want to be an incredible dad too, if that's God's plan for us, is to have children, which I hope it is.
Yeah.
And then I think from a work perspective, the thing that I'm the most proud of is we have a team of about 15 people that are just absolute rock stars. And I think about, it's almost like we have this like regenerative mini economy that we're powering through these brands. Could we start like 5 to 10 more versions of Noble? Maybe it's beef stick company. Maybe it's bone broth company. Like, how do we just kind of, and then just recruit all of these amazing, passionate young people that want to break out of corporate America and start in the regenerative space? I think if I could combine all those things together, life would be pretty good. But it's really whatever God wants. For me, it's the biggest thing that I've learned about myself is that when my head hits the pillow and I truly, truly feel like I check the boxes in regards to the effort that I gave for that day, nothing bothers me. I don't worry about finances. I don't worry about the stress of business. It's just when my head hits the pillow and I really feel like I underperformed relative to my potential, that's when I start to get stress and anxiety. And I don't mean that in a performative way. Like, I just think God wants us to just do our best, whatever the version of the best looks like at that day.
Yeah. Well, listen, I know at a bare minimum that you having the wife that I know that you have by your side, you are winning at all things.
I really am.
You 100% are winning.
Yeah. And you and your husband are huge sources of inspiration. Just seeing the two of you just build this unbelievable life together as well. Like, Dana and I talk about it all the time, and I'm not just saying that because we're on the show. And I think that's something really good for younger couples, is surround yourself with someone that has a little bit, couples that have more experience than you, and learn from them and ask questions. Like, we got that great dinner. Yeah. And we could ask you questions all night long because we really want to learn from your story. And I think that's
I love that.
This a lot.
I love that. I want to do a quick little rapid fire before we wrap up.
All right,
here.
Let's do it.
All right. Bison or elk?
Bison.
Strip or ribeye?
Used to be ribeye, but strip the last 6 months. I've been loving the fat cap on the strip.
You know, I am down for a fat cap on a strip. I'm right there with you. Steak sauce or a pinch of sea salt?
Pinch of sea salt.
Running or stair climbing?
Ooh, a stairmaster lately.
Wow, I give you credit for that. That's not easy.
You get the best sweat on it.
That's
and it
legit.
builds your calves too.
Yeah, that's legit. We got to give a shout out to our girl. Cardio, dance, or step?
I've never done cardio dance, so I guess step. But I'm more of a sculpt guy.
Guard your ankles. Step is not easy. Step is
crush.
legit. We crush. We have Let me tell you something. That girl just has a piece of my heart. And what we have created in my basement for the last 5 years has been such magic and has evoked such like a love and joy in my heart. And she's completely transformed my body and her method. But just even more so than that, just our time and our energy and who she is and who I am and the force that came together with the two of us. And we joke, we're like, what has gone down in this basement on a human level? Like, we can't really put it into words. And when she, left for our last session the other day, I felt super, super emotional. It was hard for me to like let go of somebody that I've spent so much time with and I love. And, but it's been an incredible season of life with her. And I'm so excited for what's to come for her. But we have really rocked out to some kick-ass club music and cardio dance moves. And it's been nothing but pure joy for me and her in that basement.
Well, something I've learned from you really quick is like, especially in regards to a workout, you guys are always smiling and she's kicking your butt, but you have a big smile on your face. Like it can be hard and you can have fun. Yeah. Like I think a lot of people, they like work when you're choosing a workout or a physical discipline, like make it something you actually love to do. If you hate running, don't run,
It's so funny you say that because somebody just wrote me when I posted one of my stories of us hugging and saying goodbye. And someone's like, Lauren, I'm going to really miss like watching you two. And she actually said, I'm going to miss your reactions, like my facial reactions. Cause when I'm with her, it's like, it's so true. It's like such joy is evoked in doing something that you love to do. She set the bar really high for me, but she's going to crush it. I told her maybe I'll just pop up in one of her dance cardio classes in Texas. I think she would shit her pants.
Let's set that up.
Yeah, we might have to set that up. So last rapid fire, Jersey or Texas?
Ooh, that's an impossible question. I would say Jersey. I'm a Jersey boy. Yeah. I've actually been thinking about this because, with certain states, people are, migrating to Texas and Florida and whatever. And I think there's a lot of beauty to that. I've been getting hit with this feeling where I'm like, maybe I need to just absorb what I need to absorb in Texas and then come back and plant roots in Jersey.
So it's so funny because that's how I feel about you and Dana and your journey. It's like, I love it. You're a Jersey boy, she's a Jersey girl, but you guys being in Texas right now feels very intuitively right to me.
Yes.
I think it's like an incredibly community of humans that you are surrounded with down there that are very like-minded individuals. It feels very on brand for where you are in your life and what you're creating. And I actually think it's important for you guys to be there for this next chapter of your life. And then I'm hoping that you build Noble up to be this incredible brand and you sell it and then you move back to Jersey and I get my Jersey girl back with me in our basement and our shenanigans can continue. But I think you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Thank you. It is literally a joy and a privilege for me to watch you grow as an individual and to watch you and your soon-to-be wife grow together. And I'm just so deeply grateful for your support and her support and for supporting me on this wild ride of Level Up with Lauren and everything that's to come. And I have such deep gratitude for all that we've had and all that I know will come. And I just thank you for coming on today and being my very first guest and
literally guest number one.
I'm
going to call another shot. I can't wait to see what's transpired when I come back on for episode 2.
Listen, maybe this is what we do. Maybe we do these yearly check-ins where we jump on each other's shows and we do these yearly check-ins of what's to come. And it's very, very cool. And I'm proud to know you. You're a really, really good egg. And I'm excited for all that's to come.
I felt the same way when we had you on the show, like in the feedback that I was getting about your episode in particular, like not just women and men too, how much they loved it. I think we're all just dying for like, I remember you were saying, outside of being a mom, you had this amazing career beforehand. Like this is what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah. This is going to be your second arc. Yeah. And I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah. I feel very grateful. I had a huge career in celebrity PR, which I loved the hustle and grind of that. Loved it. Loved every second of it. And I get to now do what is feeling like the second chapter of my life. And, my husband always says, find something you love and never work a day in your life. And this isn't work per se. It's passion for me. But I feel so grateful that every day I get to wake up and create content and write articles, for my page and now have really interesting conversations. And where I am right now in my life at 43 years old feels really, really good, to have the family that I have, the marriage that I have, and to now to be able to exude this passion. It's like, it's just, life is really, really beautiful. And I'm feeling really, really solid where I am right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You inspire me. So I just appreciate it. Seriously.
Thank you.
So that was the cool thing about doing the episode, is just like all the adversity you've experienced to get to a point where life is really good.
Yeah.
I think that's what some of our listeners took from it, where it was like, you've experienced some really heavy stuff.
Oh yeah.
And people that experience heavy stuff, it's like, is this ever going to turn? Is my life ever going to be good again? And like, look at where you are now.
Yeah. And it will turn. And that needs to be another podcast. I have walked some really dark valleys with losing a lot of people that I love, and life is beautiful and incredible. And my life and what I've built and where I am with it, it's a gift. And I feel so deeply grateful and so blessed with where I am right now. So yeah, for those that are listening, any dark path that you walk, there is such beauty on the other end of it. And the path that you walk is beautiful too.
Yes.
So
appreciate you.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Lauren.
Thanks.